Judge belittles black woman, then realizes she's the district attorney. Before we dive in, kindly hit the subscribe button and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. They say power can blind a man. But sometimes, that blindness becomes his downfall. This story begins inside a packed courtroom on a hot summer morning. The kind of morning where the air feels heavy, not just from the heat, but from tension. The judge, an older white man with a stern face and a reputation for cruelty, sat high on his bench. His name? Judge Warren. He'd ruled this court for over 2 decades, and everyone knew his word carried weight. But Warren wasn't respected because of fairness, no. He was feared. Feared because he belittled defendants, mocked lawyers, and seemed to enjoy humiliating anyone he thought was beneath him. And today, his target was a black woman sitting quietly at the defense table. Her name was Alicia Smith. Now Alicia didn't look like much to the judge. She wore a simple navy blue suit, her hair pulled back, a notebook in front of her. She wasn't flashy, she didn't speak out of turn. And in Warren's eyes, that made her easy prey. As the hearing began, Warren leaned forward, peering down over his glasses. "Miss Alicia," he drawled, his tone dripping with condescension, "I hope you understand how serious these proceedings are. This isn't one of your little community meetings. This is a real courtroom. My courtroom." The room chuckled nervously. Some smirked. But Alicia? She didn't flinch. She didn't smile. She simply nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I understand completely." That calm tone only seemed to irritate him more. He slammed his gavel. "Good. Then perhaps you'll refrain from wasting this court's time with irrelevant arguments. I don't have patience for amateurs." The word amateur hung in the air like poison. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone knew Warren crossed the line, but no one dared call him out. No one, but Alicia. As the case unfolded, Warren interrupted her constantly. Every time she rose to speak, he cut her off. Every time she questioned a witness, he rolled his eyes. At one point, when she presented a piece of evidence, he scoffed loudly. "Miss Alicia, do you even understand the rules of evidence? Or are you just playing lawyer today?" The gallery chuckled again, this time more openly. Alicia's client, a young black man accused of theft, shrank lower in his chair. He whispered, "Maybe we should just give up. He's not gonna let us win." But Alicia turned to him, her eyes steady. "Don't you dare give up. Not now." Her words were soft, but they carried steel. The tension only grew. By midday, it seemed the judge was more focused on mocking Alicia than on the facts of the case. And finally, he delivered his cruelest blow. "Miss Alicia," he sneered, "let me give you some advice. You don't belong here. Maybe try teaching. Or paralegal work. Something simpler. Leave the real lawyering to those who can handle it." Gasps filled the room. Even seasoned lawyers shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't just disrespect, it was humiliation. A dagger meant to cut deep. But Alicia? She didn't snap. She didn't argue. She simply closed her notebook, and smiled. And that's when everything changed. Because what Judge Warren didn't know, was who Alicia Smith truly was. As the murmurs filled the courtroom, a man in a dark suit stepped forward from the gallery. The bailiff quickly moved to stop him, until Alicia raised her hand. "It's all right," she said calmly. "He's with me." The man handed her a folder. Alicia opened it, flipped a few pages, and then stood tall. For the first time that day, her voice carried a sharp edge. "Your Honor," she said clearly, "perhaps you should understand how serious these proceedings are." The judge blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" Alicia walked slowly toward the bench, her heels echoing like a drumbeat. Then she placed the folder on his desk. You see, this case doesn't just involve my client. It involves your conduct. Conduct that has been under investigation for months. The gallery went silent. Reporters leaned forward, pens poised. Warren's smug expression faltered. Investigation? By who? Alicia looked him dead in the eye. And then, with calm precision, she delivered the bombshell. By the district attorney's office. My office. Because in addition to representing my client today, I also serve as the district attorney for this county. The courtroom erupted. Gasps. Shouts. The reporters scrambled to capture every word. And the look on Judge Warren's face? Priceless. His jaw dropped, his cheeks flushed red, his hands shook as he fumbled for his gavel. You're the DA, he stammered. Yes, Alicia replied smoothly. And today, Judge, it's not just my client on trial. It's you. The shift in power was like an earthquake. In an instant, the man who had mocked her, belittled her, tried to strip her dignity, was exposed. Exposed for his arrogance. Exposed for his abuse of authority. Exposed for underestimating the very woman who now held his career in her hands. The gallery buzzed with energy. Some smiled, some whispered, others shook their heads in disbelief. And Alicia? She stood taller than ever, her calm composure never cracking. You thought I didn't belong here, she said softly, so the whole room could hear. But maybe it's time you asked yourself the same question. The judge slammed his gavel desperately. Order. Order in the court. But his voice cracked, betraying the panic rising inside him. Because deep down, he knew, his reign of intimidation was crumbling. The hearing was adjourned in chaos. Reporters swarmed outside. People buzzed about the revelation. Judge Warren locked himself in chambers, refusing to speak to anyone. And Alicia? She walked out of the courtroom with her head held high, her client at her side. But as she stepped into the flashing lights of the cameras, a black Mercedes pulled up slowly to the curb. The window rolled down just enough for a voice to slip out. You've made powerful enemies today, D.A. Smith, the voice warned. And they don't forgive. Watch your back. The Mercedes sped away, leaving Alicia staring after it, her face unreadable. Because she knew, the fight wasn't over. This wasn't just about one corrupt judge. It was about a system. A system that had protected men like Warren for too long. And now, the battle lines had been drawn. She came to court prepared to defend her client, but ended up exposing a judge. He underestimated her. He mocked her. But in the end, his arrogance cost him everything. And yet, this is only the beginning. Because when truth shakes the halls of power, power always strikes back harder. What happens when the enemies she just exposed come for her next? They say when you shine a light in a dark room, the roaches scatter. But sometimes, those roaches fight back. When District Attorney Alicia Smith walked out of that courtroom, people thought the battle was over. Judge Warren had been humiliated, the truth had been revealed, and justice, for once, seemed within reach. But Alicia knew better. She knew that exposing corruption didn't end the fight, it started it. Because power doesn't give up easy. Power doesn't bow down without a war. The very next morning, Alicia walked into her office downtown. Reporters lined the steps, cameras flashing, voices shouting her name. D.A. Smith, do you plan to press charges against Judge Warren? D.A. Smith, are you worried about retaliation? D.A. Smith, how did you keep your position a secret for so long? She smiled politely, gave no comment, and made her way inside. But when she entered her office, something felt off. Her staff, usually bustling with energy, looked nervous. Whispers floated through the air. Files clutched tighter, phones silenced mid-ring. And then her assistant, Jordan, approached with a pale face. Alicia, the Attorney General just called. They're launching an investigation. Into you. The words hit like a hammer. Me? Alicia frowned. On what grounds? Jordan hesitated. They're saying, conflict of interest. That you shouldn't have been arguing cases in open court while holding the DA position. They claim it was deceptive. Alicia's chest tightened. It was absurd, she hadn't broken any laws. But it was obvious, this wasn't about rules. It was about revenge. The system had turned its eye on her. Later that day, Alicia received another blow. Judge Warren, humiliated, yes, but not powerless, had friends in high places. He appeared on the evening news, sitting comfortably in a leather chair, painting himself as the victim. This young woman disrespected the bench, he said, voice trembling with false righteousness. She misled the public. She manipulated the court. And now, she seeks to destroy the very foundation of our justice system. Alicia watched in silence, her fists clenched. The man who had spit venom at her in private was now crying crocodile tears for the world to see. And the worst part? Some people were buying it. But Alicia wasn't alone. That evening, her phone rang. It was her mentor, retired Judge Daniels, one of the few who had always believed in her. His voice carried a warning. They're not just trying to smear you, Alicia. They're trying to break you. They want to strip you of your office before you dig deeper. And trust me, there are deeper layers to this corruption. Layers Warren is only the surface of. Her heart pounded. She had suspected as much. But hearing it confirmed lit a fire inside her. She wasn't just fighting one corrupt judge. She was fighting an entire system built to protect it. The next day, the attack grew worse. Anonymous threats arrived in her inbox. Messages saying she should go back where she came from. Letters calling her unfit, unworthy, even dangerous. One envelope, slid under her office door, had no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with just 6 words. Drop this fight, or you'll regret it. Her assistant urged her to call security. Her colleagues whispered that maybe it was time to step back. But Alicia refused. She looked at the paper, then tore it clean in half. No, she whispered. If they're this scared, then I must be close to the truth. And the truth came faster than she expected. That week, Alicia dug through sealed records and discovered something chilling. Judge Warren wasn't just cruel in court, he had ties to powerful businessmen, men who had funneled money into his campaigns in exchange for favorable rulings. One name stood out, William Ashford. A billionaire developer with a history of shady deals. Ashford had been trying to push a massive land project through the courts, one that would displace hundreds of black families from their homes. Judge Warren had been the key to making it happen. And now, with Warren exposed, Ashford had turned his sights on Alicia. That night, Alicia drove home late, exhaustion heavy in her bones. But as she pulled into her driveway, she noticed something strange. Her front door was slightly ajar. Her pulse quickened. Slowly, she reached into her glove compartment and pulled out her licensed firearm. Stepping cautiously, she pushed the door open. The house was dark, silent. But on her dining table, a single glass of wine sat waiting. Next to it, a note. We should talk. Midnight. Pier 17. Alone. Every instinct screamed trap. But Alicia also knew, this was the kind of opportunity you didn't ignore. So at midnight, she went. The pier was deserted, waves slapping against the wood, moonlight spilling across the water. And from the shadows, a figure emerged. It wasn't Judge Warren. It wasn't even Ashford. It was a woman. Tall, elegant, with piercing eyes. She stepped into the light and smiled faintly. D.A. Smith. You don't know me. But I know you. My name is Evelyn Ashford. William's daughter. Alicia's breath caught. The daughter of the man she just uncovered. What do you want? Alicia demanded. Evelyn's smile widened. To warn you. My father won't stop. He's already moving pieces you can't see. Judges. Senators. Even people inside your own office. They all want you gone. Alicia's heart raced. Then why are you here? Evelyn leaned closer, her voice dropping. Because maybe, just maybe, I want to see him fall too. And there it was, the twist no one saw coming. The daughter of the most powerful man in the city, offering her hand to the woman fighting him. But was it real? Or another trap? Alicia didn't know. She only knew one thing. The battle had just grown bigger. She stood against a corrupt judge and revealed his lies. But in doing so, Alicia Smith awakened forces far greater than she imagined. Enemies are closing in. Allies appear from the unlikeliest places. And the next move could determine everything. Will she trust the daughter of the man she's fighting? Or will that trust cost her everything? They say the higher the mountain, the harder the fall. But what happens when the mountain fights back? District Attorney Alicia Smith had already humbled Judge Warren in front of the world. She'd pulled the mask off a corrupt man who thought he was untouchable. But exposing Warren was only the beginning. Because behind him stood someone even more dangerous, William Ashford. Billionaire. Power broker. The kind of man who could buy silence, bend laws, and move judges like chess pieces. And now, he wanted Alicia destroyed. The night at the pier haunted her. William's daughter, Evelyn Ashford, had stepped out of the shadows with a proposition. Help me bring him down, Evelyn had whispered, eyes sharp with defiance. Because if you don't, he'll come for us both. But trust didn't come easy. Especially when it came from the daughter of the very man Alicia was fighting. Still, Alicia knew she needed information. And Evelyn? She had it. So, reluctantly, Alicia agreed. Over the next week, the two women met in secret. Evelyn revealed files, documents her father had hidden away. They exposed backroom deals, bribed judges, and records of families being forced out of their homes through fraud. And there, in black and white, was the truth. Judge Warren had been just one pawn in a network of corruption reaching to the highest levels of government. Alicia's stomach churned as she read each line. This wasn't just about greed. It was about power built on the suffering of the vulnerable. Families stripped of homes. Innocent men railroaded in court. Communities gutted so William Ashford could build his empire. It wasn't just wrong. It was evil. But the closer Alicia got to the truth, the more dangerous things became. Her office was bugged. She noticed strange cars following her at night. And one morning, she found her dog poisoned in her backyard. That was the moment she knew, Ashford wasn't just trying to intimidate her. He wanted her broken. But instead of breaking her spirit, it hardened her resolve. Finally, Alicia decided it was time. She called a press conference, standing before a sea of cameras and microphones. Her voice rang clear. I stand before you today not just as your district attorney, but as a servant of the people. For too long, corruption has festered in this city. Judges have been bought, families have been displaced, and justice has been sold to the highest bidder. And the man behind it all is William Ashford. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Others gasped. Reporters shouted questions. But before Alicia could continue, a commotion broke out at the back of the room. William Ashford himself walked in. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's yearly salary. His presence sucked the air out of the room. He didn't shout. He didn't rage. He simply smirked, walking slowly toward the stage. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but filled with menace. Ladies and gentlemen, Forgive this performance. Miss Alicia is a talented actress, but she's confused. She speaks of corruption, yet she stands accused of conflict of interest herself. How can you trust a DA who hides her true role until convenient? The cameras swung wildly between the two of them. Alicia's hands tightened on the podium. This was the showdown she knew was coming. And she wasn't backing down. Mr. Ashford, she said firmly, the people deserve the truth. And the truth is in these documents. She held up the files Evelyn had given her. Cameras zoomed in, flashes blinding. But Ashford only chuckled. You think pieces of paper will bring me down? You think anyone in this city will believe you over me? I built this city. I own its courts, its banks, its politicians. And you? You're just a distraction. The crowd murmured. Some nodded with fear, others with anger. Alicia leaned forward, her voice cutting through the noise. No. You don't own this city. You've stolen from it. And today, it ends. For a moment, the room was electric. Two forces colliding, corruption versus justice, arrogance versus resolve. But then, something unexpected happened. Reporters' phones buzzed simultaneously. A breaking news alert. They glanced at their screens and gasped. Breaking, federal investigators raid offices of Ashford Development Corporation. The timing was perfect. Evelyn had leaked everything to the feds just as Alicia went public. The cameras swung back to Ashford, whose smirk finally cracked. His face darkened. For the first time, the untouchable man looked cornered. But Ashford wasn't a man who went quietly. He leaned close to Alicia, so only she could hear. His voice was low, dangerous. You think this is over? You think some papers and cameras scare me? No. You've just signed your death warrant. And everyone you love will pay the price. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed out, his entourage scrambling after him. The room exploded in chaos. Reporters shouted questions, people cheered, others panicked. But Alicia stood firm. For the first time, she had publicly cornered the most powerful man in the city. And now, there was no turning back. That night, Alicia returned home, drained but victorious. She poured herself a glass of water and sat on the couch, finally allowing herself a moment to breathe. But then, her phone buzzed. A message. It was from an unknown number. Attached was a single photo. Her mother. Tied to a chair. A gun pointed at her head. And the caption read, "You wanted war, Alicia. Now you've got one. Meet me tomorrow at midnight. Alone. Or she dies." She faced the judge who belittled her. She stood toe-to-toe with the billionaire who corrupted the system. And just when it seemed justice was in reach, the fight became personal. Now, her family is in danger. And the only way to save them, is to walk straight into the lion's den. Will Alicia outwit William Ashford once and for all? Or will the price of justice be her own blood? They say justice is blind. But sometimes, justice must fight with both eyes wide open. For District Attorney Alicia Smith, the fight had turned personal. She had taken on Judge Warren, exposed his corruption, and stood toe-to-toe with billionaire William Ashford. But now, her mother's life was on the line. The text message haunted her, a photo of her mother tied to a chair, a gun pressed against her temple. And the chilling words beneath it. Meet me tomorrow at midnight. Alone. Or she dies. The night stretched long and restless. Alicia sat in her office with Evelyn Ashford, William's daughter, the only unexpected ally she had in this war. You can't go alone, Evelyn warned. My father, he doesn't bluff. If you show up without backup, he'll kill her. And he'll kill you. Alicia's eyes were tired but sharp. If I don't go, he'll do it anyway. This isn't about negotiation anymore. It's about ending him. Once and for all. Evelyn paced the room. Then let me help you. I know how he thinks. I know his hideouts. If you walk in blind, you're dead. Alicia hesitated. Trusting Evelyn was risky. But she also knew Evelyn had risked everything by turning on her father. Finally, Alicia nodded. Then we bring him down together. The next night, the city was quiet. Midnight loomed heavy as Alicia drove to the location William had sent, an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the docks. Fog rolled across the water. The warehouse loomed like a shadow against the skyline, its windows glowing faintly from inside. Alicia stepped out of her car, her heels clicking against the concrete, her heart pounding like a drum. She wasn't unarmed. Beneath her jacket, she carried her weapon. But she knew brute force wouldn't win this fight. Strategy would. And tonight, she had a strategy. Inside the warehouse, William Ashford sat in a leather chair, surrounded by armed men. His presence radiated power, arrogance, control. Across the room, Alicia's mother sat bound to a chair, fear etched into her face. But when her eyes met Alicia's, strength flashed there too. Well, William drawled, rising to his feet. The mighty district attorney. Brave enough to come alone. Foolish enough to think it would matter. Alicia kept her voice steady. You wanted me here, William. Now I'm here. Let her go. This fight is between you and me. He laughed darkly. No. This fight is between me, and the idea that you could ever win. He snapped his fingers. One of his men cocked a gun against her mother's head. Last chance, Alicia. Drop your little crusade. Resign. Disappear quietly. Or she dies. The tension was suffocating. Alicia's breath came slow, deliberate. She raised her hands, pretending to surrender. All right, she said softly. You win. William's smile widened. He leaned forward, savoring the moment. But then, Alicia's voice hardened. Or at least, that's what you thought. Suddenly, floodlights exploded outside the warehouse. Red and blue sirens wailed. Doors burst open as federal agents stormed in, weapons drawn. FBI. Drop your weapons. William spun around in shock. His men panicked, guns clattering to the floor as agents overwhelmed them. And at the center of the chaos, Evelyn stepped out from the shadows, flanked by agents. She looked her father dead in the eye. You always taught me power was everything. But you never understood, the truth is more powerful than fear. William's face turned red with rage. He lunged toward Alicia, spitting fury. You think this will stop me? I own these people. I own this city. But Alicia didn't flinch. She stepped closer, her eyes burning with fire. No, William. You own fear. You own silence. But you don't own me. And you don't own justice. The agents shoved him to the ground, handcuffing him as cameras flashed from the reporters who had been tipped off. The world was watching his empire crumble in real time. But just when it seemed over, William made one last desperate move. As agents hauled him up, he wrenched free just enough to grab a gun from one of his men. He aimed it straight at Alicia's mother. If I go down, she goes with me, he roared. The room froze. Agents raised their weapons but hesitated. One wrong move, and her mother was dead. Alicia's heart pounded. Time slowed. Then, in a flash, she moved. Drawing her own weapon, she fired once, clean, precise. The gun flew from William's hand, clattering across the floor. He screamed in pain as agents tackled him, slamming him against the ground. Her mother gasped, tears streaming, as Alicia rushed to her side and cut her free. They embraced tightly, the weight of fear melting into relief. By dawn, William Ashford was in custody. His empire was collapsing. His allies were scattering. And for once, the system had chosen justice over corruption. Reporters swarmed outside the courthouse as agents led William away in handcuffs. The sight was unforgettable, the untouchable billionaire, now just another criminal in chains. Alicia stood at the courthouse steps, her mother by her side, Evelyn just behind her. Cameras flashed, voices shouted, the city buzzing with the victory of justice. And Alicia spoke, her voice steady, her words unforgettable. This was never just my fight. It was for every family displaced. Every innocent life destroyed by corruption. Let this be a message: justice is not for sale. Not in this city. Not anywhere. The crowd roared. For the first time, people believed the tide had turned. But as the cheers filled the air, Evelyn stepped close to Alicia, her voice barely above a whisper. "You won tonight," she said softly. "But you don't know my father like I do. He always has a backup plan. And trust me, it's already in motion." Alicia froze, the weight of Evelyn's words sinking in. Because in the distance, through the chaos, a black car sat idling. Inside, a figure watched them closely. A man with a scar across his cheek, speaking into a phone. The words were muffled, but chilling enough. Phase 2 begins now. She stood against a judge who mocked her. She brought a billionaire to his knees. And she saved her family from the jaws of death. But the war isn't over. Because corruption runs deeper than one man. And William Ashford may have left behind a legacy of darkness even more dangerous than himself. What is Phase 2? Who are the new enemies waiting in the shadows?